Today we're going to be reacting to how Chef Jean-Pierre makes his perfect steak. It's been a while since we've seen one of his videos and he does such a good job. I think today we're going to be in for a treat.
Well, hello there friends. Today, very important video, how to cook the perfect steak. I figured there was a lot of information on the internet. I didn't need to do a video about how to cook a steak. But there's so much bad information out there that I decided to debunk all of the myth out there that are untrue.
He is right about this. There is a lot of information on the internet on how to cook a steak, especially from people that have no idea and that have never worked in the kitchen before and that don't know how to cook steaks.
Number one, take out your steak at least 20 minutes before you cook. What does that do? Nothing. No, I'm telling you, friends, I know everybody's saying it. Maybe a 1.5, 2 degrees difference if you take it out 20 minutes before you cook it. That means nothing. So don't waste your time taking the steak out.
This is one of those things that we say in the kitchens all the time, especially for anybody on the meat section. They normally take out their steaks 20, 30 minutes before service just to bring them up to somewhat room temp.
The four most important parts to make sure you take them out of the fridge 20 minutes before you actually start cooking them. Cooking a steak that's stone cold in the center, you're gonna have to overcook it on the outside.
I think this has more relevance with the kitchen, the professional kitchen, than it does for the home cook. If you're just going to be cooking or making a steak once in a while, it doesn't really matter if it takes an extra like 2 to 3 minutes to cook the steak. But if you're in the kitchen and you're cooking about 100 to 200 of these little things every single day, then a couple minutes here and there makes a very big difference with how fast you can actually get the steaks out and how fast you can serve tables.
Another myth out there. Don't salt it just until you're ready to go because it's gonna pull the moisture. That's correct. If you put the salt just before you cook, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Matter of fact, we're gonna demonstrate.
This is another thing that I have been told so many times in the kitchen, and I've been yelled at as well. There's a lot of chefs that don't agree with the same methods.
So this one has not been salted. You can see a little glycerin in there. There's a little moisture in there. I want to get rid of that. The secret of a good steak is moisture. We want to get rid of the moisture. How do we do that? We take a salt. Now, be careful. No, I've seen guys out there putting so much salt in there, it ruins the steak. You don't want to put too much salt. You want to put enough salt, just a little bit. That looks like fine. We don't want to put too much. That's a lot of salt already, okay? Just that's it. That's it. No more salt than that, right? We're going to put it in. We're going to rub it in. We're going to flip it on the other side.
There goes the blood pressure. When a chef says that people put too much salt on a steak, that is probably an enormous amount of salt for the average person, right? Because keep in mind, we chefs typically use salt for everything. I mean, we season everything. We use a lot of it. Salt is one of the most important ingredients in the kitchen, and the chefs that I've worked with that were heavy smokers tended to add a heck of a lot more salt than those that didn't smoke. Your palate is very important.
Don't put too much salt. Don't put too much salt. You don't need much salt. You want to put some on the side. And that's it. Now we're going to take this steak. You're going to be amazed. You're going to learn. You're going to love this. This is really good. I'm very excited to teach you this because every time I'm watching somebody doing it wrong, I'm like, Mamma mia!
To be honest, I wouldn't be adding that much salt to it. It's a little too much for me as well because too much salt's not good for you.
I'll come back in about 10 minutes from now and you're going to see what happened to the salt that I put in on there. You're going to see, by the process of osmosis, it's going to, osmosis. That's a difficult word for a French person. It's gonna remove, you're gonna see, it's gonna draw the moisture out.
There's a few other words that are difficult for a French person.
Hamburger.
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 Ay, putain. If there are any French watching, let me know down below what words are hard for you to say in English.
The secret is to leave it long enough, at least 45 minutes, for that juice to go back in.
Chef Jean-Pierre is talking about dry brining. Now, to brine anything is normally a water salt solution that you put the ingredient in, let's say a turkey steak or whatnot, to then infuse more moisture into that product, especially with like a Thanksgiving turkey because it dries out so much in the oven. Dry brining, though, is a technique used for seasoning and tenderizing meat without adding extra liquid. It involves coating the meat with salt and sometimes like other spices, then letting that rest uncovered in the fridge, which the salt then draws out the moisture. The salt dissolves and then is reabsorbed into the meat, which enhances the flavor and juices.
Look at this, friends. Look at this. Look at this. We got to make sure the camera gets right in there. You see? This is only 10 minutes. If we were the cooker right now, We lose all the juices. We don't want to lose it. We want to put it back inside. And this is the secret is right there, is to have a dry outside. That's what happened. Now, 10 minutes, that's what happened. Within at least 45 minutes. It's the minimum you got to do this, okay? 45 minutes to an hour.
One thing that Chef Jean-Pierre is trying to do is to try to get a nice crispy crust. This is one thing that is very, very important, because if you draw out a lot of water from the steak while you're cooking, you're going to be boiling the steak. You don't want that.
A lot of people says to me, "How'd you cook it in clarified butter?" You can cook it in clarified butter. But if you do, you don't get as much of a crust. And you know, it's all about the crust.
See what I mean? It's all about the crust.
An avocado oil is a very high smoke point oil, and it creates a really nice crust. So we're using the avocado oil. Okay, you can use whatever makes you happy, friends. But if you use regular butter, you know it's gonna burn, and we don't want it to do that.
To be honest, I don't even have avocado oil at the grocery store. I have to go to like a specialty store to find it. But olive oil would be the oil to use here. And the more refined the olive oil, the higher the smoke point that it has. Although the amount of oil that he added to the pan, normally for a lot of people, I know this is a lot of oil, but the oil will help make contact with the steak, and if you don't have enough oil in the pan, it won't transfer the heat and you won't be searing it.
Salt, we got it already, we don't need to do that. Pepper, you can put it now, it's not gonna burn, or you can wait and put it in later. I like crushed black pepper at the last minute in it. If you can put it now, nothing's gonna happen to it. Some people, oh, you put it now, you're gonna burn it. No, you don't burn it. It's really up to you. It's not a pepper steak, so I'm not gonna do that.
Again, this is one of the things that a lot of chefs do not agree on. If you use a very fine crushed black pepper and you cook the steak on an open flame, it's more likely that that will burn a lot quicker than it will, say, in a pan. The whole argument is that you can burn black pepper, and when you burn black pepper, it has a very bitter taste to it. It doesn't taste very good.
The oil, I like to get it about 400 degrees, about 400 Fahrenheit. If you don't have one of those, skip an eye in there, you'll feel it when it's 400. Now, an avocado oil has a great smoke point, so you don't see it smoking. If you put olive oil in there, it's gonna burn for sure. Look at this guy right here, it's amazing, yeah? So we're gonna take it in now, right now, friend, and we're gonna put it in. And now, don't touch it. Now, what happened is I like to do a cast iron pan because it retains the heat. So then the steak doesn't take all the heat out of a thin fry pan. But if you have a good, thick stainless steel fry pan, or a copper pan, nothing wrong with it. Cast iron is the easiest thing to deal with. You just got to deal with it, taking care of it, make sure you have a handle of it when you put them in the oven.
This is true, and probably for the average US household, a cast iron pan or a skillet is pretty common to find. The thing is though, not all cast irons you have to baby and take care of, because some companies will actually seal them. So they have a protective coating on them that is perfectly fine to use while cooking.
The salt, what salt did I use? I used a kosher salt. You want a kind of a crusty, thick salt, granulated salt, not a fine table salt. You want to make sure you put it on. Kosher salt is perfect. Fleur de sel is another perfect salt for.
It's a good recommendation too. It's a good salt if you can get it. If not, kosher's fine. Maldon salt or salt Maldon is also another one to use at the end of cooking. This is for decoration and also for a crunch.
Get yourself a good thermometer. This is the $20 thermometer. It works great. This is the $100 thermometer. It's Thermapen. It's a great thermometer. This one, what's the difference between the $100 one and the $20 one?
$80 that you can spend on something else.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
The $100 one reads in 3 seconds. The $20 one reads in about 10 seconds. So if you got 7 seconds to spare, you save $80.
This I agree with. Having a thermometer at home is very important, but not just having a thermometer to check the food, but also an oven thermometer, one that lives in the oven, so you know the exact temperature of your oven, because a lot of ovens lie about the temperature, especially this new one that I have in this house.
Because this thing about pushing the thumb and all that stuff, oh yeah, if you push over here, it's medium rare. If you push it over there, it's rare. If you pull it there, it's well done. Hello? Try to touch your wife or your husband thumb and you see completely different. So which one do you use? Hers or yours? So everybody's thumb is completely different. That makes absolutely no sense at all.
This is another one of those things that is a big debate depending on who you ask. My father, who was a chef for more than 50 years and also an executive chef for almost 40, never used this little, touching your hand method. He always used a thermometer or after you cook enough steaks, you can just poke them and sense more or less how well done they are. This takes a lot of skill and it takes a lot of steaks. So the best method is to buy a thermometer and know for sure exactly what temperature the internal temp is.
When it's a thick steak like that, like an inch and a half, I do not like to leave in the pan the whole time. You end up burning the outside in order to cook the inside.
This is one thing I fully agree with Chef Jean-Pierre. You can cook it still, but if a steak is that thick and you're going to be cooking it in the pan, you run a risk of burning it. Or it's better to use the oven or sous vide.
We're going to take it out and we're going to get a beautiful crust right here. And we're starting to build the crust. We're going to flip it on the other side. So what I do is I cook it 1 or 2 minutes on each side, then I pop it in the oven for a few minutes. Because the oven makes it where I don't burn on the outside in order to cook the inside. So if you have a thin steak, you can do it in a fry pan the whole time. Don't worry. But if you have a thick steak, you want to pop it in the oven, otherwise you're going to end up burning the outside in order to cook the inside.
Now, normally the rule of thumb is you don't want to flip it too many times when you're cooking it, like he says, because you don't want to drop the temperature either of the pan or whatever cooking surface you're cooking on. And if you're using a grill, you don't want to be giving it, 100 different grill marks. However, there is one chef, a very famous one, Heston Blumenthal, that actually tested this theory and tested cooking a steak by flipping the steak many times every 20 or 30 seconds, I believe, until the steak was evenly cooked. And Heston came to the conclusion that by flipping it so often and so regularly, that he actually cooked the steak more evenly than he would have just leaving it in the pan and cooking it on one side for 10 minutes and on the other for another 10.
Mise en place, we don't have much. I have a little fresh thyme, I have some garlic, and I have some shallot, and I got butter. I am going to use some butter, but we'll use that at the end so we don't burn it. Remember, butter burns at 250 degrees. If I put butter, all I got is burn butter. Who wants burn butter?
In France, when you cook in the kitchen, especially when searing steak, meat, whatever, you use a lot of thyme. This is a very common herb to use. Garlic is also another ingredient that they love to use, and of course, shallots. And if you add butter to the pan with all of this, plus with the juices from the steak, you can turn this into a delicious little sauce. But a very delicious, easy, simple pan sauce.
I guess I can use it like that. We're going to put it in the oven, and in 2 minutes from now, we're going to flip it. I'm going to show you, okay? Okay, it's been there 2 minutes. I'm going to flip it. Flip it just a little bit longer. One more time. Oh, yeah, we're getting a beautiful crust, friends. It's really looking beautiful. And we're going to leave it in there another 2 or 3 minutes. It's been in the oven about a total of about 6 minutes. We're going to take it out. And we're going to finish it up in a fry pan now, friends. Look, it's starting to look beautiful. We got a beautiful crust. Okay, we're going to do the sides of it now. Don't forget the sides, friends.
The oven really does help you to make the perfect steak. Unless, of course, you sous vide this and then, you just take the steak out and then sear it at the end. And then you'll have the perfect steak. Also, does Chef Jean-Pierre have a little cheat sheet? He does. He has a little cheat sheet on the myths.
Now what we're going to do, we're going to add a little bit of butter. That's my best part. And then we're going to add I got some fresh thyme. I got some shallots and garlic. Don't forget to do the side, very important, friends. Now you're on the side. We're going to spoon some of that beautiful butter right there, friends. Oh, there's extra butter. We're going to spoon some of that extra butter right there on top, friends. It's going to give it a little flavor. It's going to take a little time. The smell of it is amazing, intoxicating it.
This is why it's important to add aromatics, because all of the flavors and all of the aroma from the aromatics will be infused into the steak. So when you go to eat the steak, it will add to the flavor. Right now, what Chef Jean-Pierre is doing, which is also a very common thing to do with a steak, basting is a very common technique. Why do you baste? Because you try to help moisten the steak. The hot oil will also help to cook the steak from the other side as well. The one thing you want to be careful is to use the same spoon to then taste something else while you're using the spoon to baste, because one of my little coworkers did that one day at work and burnt the you-know-what out of his mouth. He was screaming when he realized that he put the hot spoon in his mouth after putting it into another sauce to taste it.
Another thing, you hear old people tell you, make sure you sear in the steak right away to sealing the juices. The juice are gonna come out with or without a crust. So the secret is to let it rest, and we're gonna talk about that when we're ready to let it rest.
This is very true. This is the one thing that a lot of people say, that you have to sear in the juices.
Right.
No,
You need to grill the burger, not boil it. So we need to keep the intensity to get that sear in there. How many times I told you we need to sear it, okay?
Can you just relax?
It's
You need to sear the burger. We don't broil it. How many times I fucking told you to do that?
I mean, yes, having a crust, it does help, but the steak's not going to be airtight. You want a nice crust on the steak because it adds texture and flavor.
Remember, friends, there's nothing wrong with the way you like it cooked. You like it raw, God bless you. You like a medium rare, God bless you. You like a medium, you like a well done, God bless you. It doesn't matter. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, that's the wrong way to eat it. You're either rare or you don't eat it. Well, get out of my kitchen, okay? You eat it however you want to eat it, friends, okay? Don't let anybody tell you your way to do it is wrong. Look at this steak.
Normally, this is like the worst thing for the kitchen. It's not just that, you know, you don't want to cook the steak well done, it's that it takes the longest. And when somebody orders, especially right before the time that you're closing, 10 minutes before, a well done steak, like a beef tenderloin or anything, it's like, seriously.
You gotta be careful, don't go all the way to the other side. So ready to see what I got right here, friends. It says 125, but I went a little too deep. I'm about 120, 116, 120. You know, that's enough for me, friends. I'm just gonna let it rest just a little bit longer. Put a little more butter in there.
When you have a big steak, the residual heat will carry over when you take it out of the pan. So the center will continue to cook.
How are we doing? Oh, look at this. Does that look beautiful or what? Oh, yeah, that looks beautiful. We're gonna put it right there, however side we wanna put it in. That's beautiful. Look at that crust. Look at this, that's gorgeous. And we're gonna take a little bit of this right there on top. Maybe for later on, I put some fresh thyme leaves in there so it looks beautiful. Don't be afraid to put some butter in there like that. Oh yeah, look at this, friends. Does that look beautiful or what? Well, here's what's happening with the juices. You know, you say if you cut it right away, you lose all the juice. You do. Here's what happened. You remember when you put it in a pan, you hear that sizzling? What happened is the outside and the both sides are heating the pan 400 degrees. Right now, the outside of the steak is about 200 degrees. At that level of heat, the juices are being expelled. There is no juice on the outside of it. All the juice is in the middle of the meat. We need to let it rest so the juices can go back from the inside and redistribute a little bit on the outside. And that's all we need to do. We need to let it rest. You need to let it rest about 10 minutes.
Now this is one of those little tips that many chefs do agree on.
And look at all the delicious juices that have come out. But what happens when a steak's been properly rested? Okay, this is what I can get into this glass. Look at the difference between those two. This just shows you how important it is to rest your meat.
You have to let the steak rest, because if you don't, all the juices will end up on the plate.
I love that crust. You hear that? Yes, sir. And we're gonna cut right in, friends. And voila, beautiful. Beautiful, 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 friends. Oh yeah. Now it's time to get the fork out.
You can tell by the statement that he means business. It's time to get the fork out.
Now it's time to get the fork out.
Yeah, he really wants to taste the steak. And it looks good, it really does.
This is perfectly, perfectly cooked. Look at this. Look at this. Bon appetit. Mmm. Oh. Oh. I forgot. I'm tasting it. And I'm going with the pepper.
This has happened to me a few times. I mean, it's normal, especially when you're like videotaping and doing everything in the kitchen for YouTube. It helps if you have a camera crew, but you can still easily forget stuff.
Mom used to say, if your head was not attached so good, you'd be losing it. Friends, oh, it's salty to perfection. This is how you make a steak. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, friends, give us a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to ring the bell so you get notification every Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe. We need subscriber. We love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
I love watching him. He does an excellent job, Chef Jean-Pierre, and he is very entertaining. Very, very entertaining. Now, obviously, not all chefs agree with many of the methods that Chef Jean-Pierre was talking about. And long story short, you're probably not going to get all the chefs to agree on that anyway. However, if I were you, the best thing to do at home is to cook yourself. Try some of the techniques and tips that Chef Jean-Pierre has mentioned as well as other chefs such as Heston Blumenthal, Gordon Ramsay. Well, if you follow Jamie, then you can try wasting a steak on what he says, but I did make my own steak video not that long ago, so if you do want to check that out, then be sure to. I'll leave the link down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification because we do need more subscribers and every little bit counts. Thank you very much for subscribing, everyone, and supporting my channel thus far. Don't forget to check out this next video coming up here, and I will see you again soon. Until then, take care. And be sure to head over to Chef Jean-Pierre's channel and say hi from me as well.